But you know what? Hope you all have a great day. Our panelists were great today. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
I,
And that's
I
a
think I think
cut.
that I think
There you
Tiberius
go.
have his own show. Wait a minute, he does have
Uh,
his own
oh,
show.
I do.
I just think
Okay, quick bathroom break then.
he should have his
Take.
own. You
You're
should
gonna
have
go
your
to the
own Tiberius. You
bathroom?
have your own show. Wait,
Of
wait.
course, we're recording, Tiberius. Now everyone knows you're taking a dump. What's up with that? Oh my gosh.
It's going to be in the after show. After the show, you got to take a dump.
Oh my gosh. What am I gonna do with this child? I love him so much, but he's killing me here.
I got it.
Oh
Hey,
yeah,
Cat.
man.
Hey, I just want to tell Cash, you were really relaxed this time. I mean, it was so cool. I wanted to appreciate you being on, but you were really good.
Yeah. Hey,
Thank
hey,
you.
Bob, how's it feel to watch the show? It feel pretty cool, huh?
I sitting here having a cigar watching the show. I could do that every time.
Yeah.
Oh, see?
Okay, I'm trying to get some people in, so just bear
Oh,
with.
that iPhone is my phone. Don't worry about that one. That's that because I had to go into the back room and I had both, so I wouldn't miss anything.
Gotcha.
We're back.
Okay, we lost someone. Where's Riley?
There
Is
he
Riley
is.
coming back, or is he running?
Hey-o.
There I am.
There he is.
Riley's
All right, I
Okay,
get a
he's
glass of
coming
wine.
back. Okay. I'm trying to find a way to bring in these other people since we have
Okay, well, I do still have a question for some of the panelists. So, Brandon, what made you decide to talk like you're a chicken with your head cut off? Because you spoke for about 7 minutes and 44 seconds,
He broke the
which is
record.
probably the most I've ever seen on any episode.
Be the challenge. He could be the challenger. Let's go.
Honestly, I I
I,
I
I,
take the amount of time I talk in a similar fashion to the amount of pages that I will write. Like if I'm writing a research paper, that's
Yeah.
the same mentality here.
Riley
If I
wasn't too far behind him.
about something, I'm gonna make more words about it.
And now, Cash, why'd you talk so little? I mean, you kind of made it equal for, like, both sides talking about the same amount of time, but man, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. That's probably the lowest I've ever seen.
Well, hey, you did actually cut it.
Same
You
with
cut it
him.
off that one time. Oh,
Same with him. I just didn't have that much to talk about. Like he had a lot, I had a little.
Okay.
It's okay, little, but
We balanced each other we balanced each other nicely.
yeah, it's
I don't
quality
think
over
I
quantity.
right.
Love it.
I don't think I ever got to the 6, 7 minute mark ever.
Got Don and Bob over here. Do you have any questions for the panelists and or me if I could have done better?
Well, after watching one of the video, Don sent around a great video. I think he sent it. It might have been Ted because we have emails and texts just going round and round on stuff. And it was a great video. And it was about our current, oh gosh, let's see, what is his role? We'll just say he's trying to make America healthy again.
Robert
And
Kennedy, yeah.
I got it. But it's some interesting stuff. But the thing I did want to point out to Brandon is Brandon did say, he goes, well, I've seen some clips of Ben Shapiro, which makes me wonder the clips that you've seen, were they the ones that were kind of just pulled out? And have you ever watched anything more? And that's what I'm trying to find watching on the other side, listening to a full argument on something, that type stuff.
You're asking me if I've ever seen Ben Shapiro like fully in context? No.
I have.
The clips.
So I'm maintaining the context you saw it in. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. So in terms of like specific clips that I've seen and heard, they are usually the more extreme viewpoints that he's
right.
I like Candace Owens, but she's hardly ever talked about much anymore. But she is a very intelligent woman that talks about conservative values. And she was originally, and she grew up on the left side, and she changed over, and she has a lot of interesting.
No, but she's gone off the reservation recently. Something weird's going on there. I don't know what it is.
Well, she got caught in some.
when
She
you,
got caught in
when
some
you start
controversies.
talking about Bridget McCrone,
She
all
got caught in controversies.
yeah, it's just annoying. I don't
Yeah,
know.
'cause he did. Like I said, most people where they go off where they lose people is just saying, "Hey, look, I made a mistake." Don't try to cover it up. Just say, "Hey, look, you'll be more human that way," and just say, "Hey, look, I fucked up. I made a mistake. I misspoke, or I got some bad information." Then you'll still be on the air, but you try to cover everything up, and we all see it. And then we say you're full of crap. Then people stop watching.
Right.
I'd rather watch a human being than watch somebody lying all the freaking time. So
Well, what is Cash?
Well, that
Cash, you do a lot of
that
social
is-
media. Who do you listen to that gives you political advice on the internet? What social media stuff do you run into?
I don't really go for like political advice like one-sided. I just hear about like news stories about like Supreme Court cases or something like that, just on like YouTube Shorts.
Like news
Well,
stations.
I think Don.
And not really. It's just solo YouTubers
Yeah.
yeah,
who cover
I
it.
kind of watch
I-
everybody.
I
If you're talking
personally-
to an echo chamber, you're always going to be right if you talk into an echo chamber.
I know I personally have seen a lot of these people. I've seen Jordan Peterson, I've seen Andrew Tate, I've seen Ben Shapiro, and I've even seen Charlie Kirk. Man, I saw the video where he went against 400 kids and a professor in a college.
Right.
He destroyed them all. Like, what?
Well-
I mean, he's great. I mean, I'm not saying that he's like the best, but I will say I do like his debate skills. Some of his things I don't agree with, but I will say he is one of the better people at debates.
Yeah. Well.
I agree.
Yeah.
But-
Well, he will. Well, Charlie Kirk will admit he will admit that he's wrong sometime. And
Correct.
Yes.
and that's what I like
like
about him
that.
too. He will admit that, hey, look, I'm not the, and don't try to cover up. This is what I was saying about what's happening now in the conservative. There's a different kind of machoism or manhood that being taught. You can't be taught like you're the alpha male all the time, and whatever you say is king with rule and everything else, and you can't be wrong. And even though you are wrong, you still can't go out and do stuff where you're wrong and everything else. Instead of admitting that you're wrong, that's the problem with these new people out there. They don't admit that they made a mistake, and we're going to make mistakes. And some of this stuff on the social media, some of it's bad information. And when you do get the bad information, you have to say, "Hey, look, that was bad information I got," and that allows you to do more stuff out in the world. But if you keep piling on top of garbage without acknowledging that it's garbage, you're not going to stay on very long because people will stop listening to you.
We didn't get
Exactly.
Brandon's kid on the show.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
He-
Where's your kid?
He is doing a little vacation with his grandmother for the next few days while I prepare because I'm going down south this weekend to visit my fiance and her son because he's gonna have a birthday party, and I'm gonna go down there to support him and to support her, just like for that weekend. So he's with his grandma
Speaking of
for
that,
the next few days. But
That-
I'll do my
I
comedy
agree
show.
completely with you, Don. I think Joe Boy, like this comes back a lot to what Joe Boy said earlier about the conservative value of taking accountability for one's actions. If if this party that claims to be conservative is not holding itself accountable and owning up to its mistakes, then are they still conservatives?
Right. That's right. The new line.
If they're not holding a conservative value, are they conservatives?
Right. There's
Well,
still
there's
some
probably
out there, but they're
Only
not
a
enough.
dozen or so current congressmen that have already cheated on their wives. Who knows?
Right. That's on both sides, and that happens. But
I know it.
that is
That
just a
happens to those
moral
power
thing.
man. The interesting thing about Charlie Kirk is the Southern Poverty Law Center came out with a thing calling Turning Point USA a hate group. Now I think they've backed off from it a little bit, but I'm
Right.
sitting here going, why are they taking something that, like you said, Riley and Tiberius and Joe Boy, love what this guy says, and can you take anything he said as being a hate thing? It's just one of the weapons that the left has.
Well, creating something into a hate group means they get demonetized and a lot of stuff gets pulled off. And so they're hoping that'll make them shut up. And I think that's the purpose. If you just declare someone a hate group, they can at least demonetize and remove the money that they might potentially get. I mean, I had someone who was talking to me a little bit about, she's a very intelligent woman, a lawyer, who was talking to me a little bit about the abuses with women and their reproductive rights and so forth. And then she was telling me about all this stuff and how some woman got arrested for having a miscarriage and all these things. And we were talking a bit, and she was saying, I says, listen, you don't want to have kids. That's your right to not have kids. That's your choice. But you're saying you're worried about having a child because you might die in the thing, and a doctor might keep you, protect the baby over you. But those laws haven't been implemented. That they're not there. And we went back and forth, and I realized something that I learned from Charlie Kirk. And this is where those influencers make a difference. I asked her, if you were to have a child, would you have a baby shower? Or would you have a fetus shower? It's not born yet, so are you going to call it a fetus shower?
Well, if you know what the sex is, you can have a baby shower.
So as soon as
Right
we
now,
know what the sex is, that's when the life starts.
Technology, if you know the sex,
Yep.
you know the sex ahead of time. You better know what you're gonna have now these days, a boy or girl, so you can prepare because you don't know what you're gonna. You need to start getting your stuff together because it's expensive to have a children. So you
Every
better,
time
you
I
know
every
ahead of
time I
time
leave the
if it's gonna be a
state,
boy or a
we're
girl.
gonna have
You
a
better get out there and have a baby shower and get all the diapers, get all the boy stuff, get all the stuff you need because it's gonna cost you a fortune if you don't know. So you need to get ahead of the game. So I agree with her 100%. I have a fetus. If I know what there's going to be a boy or girl, I will have a shower right away because I need that stuff because it's going to cost a lot of money coming up to get all that stuff. So that's what I'm saying about society's changing because the way society is going and changing, that's how we have to be. We have to change stuff with society because society is changing and the way the world is changing, and we have to be ahead of it a little
So
bit.
you wouldn't call it a baby shower? You'd call it a fetus shower?
I call it a fetus shower, whatever you want to call it, a shower. I call it a preparing shower, preparing for my life for the next
Get
couple
free
of years.
stuff shower, is that what you're saying?
Call it what it also is. Call it a gender reveal party.
Gender review, whatever you want to call it.
Wow. I don't know what color for the 64 that they've assigned nowadays.
Right. So
Plus, they haven't decided yet, have they?
Yeah, the parents haven't decided for them yet.
because you can tell early now.
You know what,
Man.
guys? Let them have the genders. I don't care. Like,
Right.
gosh, man, like let's just turn the page.
Thank you.
Yes. No, I'm serious. It's like all I care about is my freaking pocketbook and
My pocketbook and my life, man. That's my
Yeah.
thing. My pocketbook
It's
and my
like-
health
it's
is
like-
the number one. Is the
it's
number one
like-
things. Right?
Pick
And
your
my life.
battles, Pick your battles.
pick your battles. And like not only that, it's like, come on, like, like it's like I'm reminded back of like the Jim Crow era. It's like, really? Really? Are we gonna like put people down? Like that's not me. That's not who I was raised to be. I love all. But don't press it on my kids. Let them make a choice. That's about it.
So what if they tell your kid you have to call this male who looks like a male but does wear a dress? They have to call him Miss, and they have to call him her, and your child has to do that, or they might get in trouble in school. Are you okay with that?
But that's not
Well,
happening.
I would be, yeah.
But that's not
honestly,
happening.
honestly, it's I feel like as soon as we wear out that topic, it's like I'll give it to them. Like so what? So what? Like I got.
Well, you can get arrested now. You can get arrested for misgender.
That's almost like becoming a religion.
That's the
Where's
problem.
that at? Where's that at, Joe? Where can you get arrested for not calling
And
somebody by their
that's
pronoun?
separation of church and state. Like this, because the woke.
Well, I don't think the gender thing's a religion yet.
Where can you get arrested by not calling somebody by their gender or what they want to be called? Where?
I don't have it in front of me because we're on a show, but if you look it up in Google, there have been 3 separate cases where someone's been arrested for misgendering.
Wow.
Well, did they did something?
In those situations, I think the assumption has to be that in those situations, the person who was misgendered might have assumed they were doing it purposefully and called it a hate crime. You can get arrested for hate crimes. That's a thing.
Yeah.
If it's a hate crime, yes, exactly. If you're
But Yeah, it is totally a thing. However,
Okay.
there is a point where there's an accidental misgendering and a deliberate misgendering. Now, coming back to Joe Boy's, I'm gonna kind of combine Joe Boy's point and Riley's point on this one, where Joe Boy's asking if my children are in a classroom and their teacher who looks like a man but is dressed like a woman and wants to be referred to as a miss or a ms, would I say that it's okay for them to call her that? Yes, because as Riley said, who cares? Let someone be who they want to be, and if there are a qualified, experienced educator, what does it matter what they're wearing or who they refer to themselves as?
That's right.
Like
right.
even if you as a student disagree with that person's choice of gender on a fundamental level, yes, I'm looking at you two. Even if you disagree with them, if they're qualified, experienced educators who are able to adequately educate you, like, does it matter?
You know what? That's a really interesting point, and I will go with one thing. I do care about the truth. And I actually literally, when Tiberius was in kindergarten, had to go to kindergarten, preschool. I had to go to the school to defend Tiberius because Tiberius explained when he was told it's a four-sided polygon, and he I forget what'd you call it, Tiberius? A
quadrilateral.
A quadrilateral. And she says, no, it's either a square or rectangle. And he said, no, it's a quadrilateral because it could also be a rhombus or this, that, and the other. She goes, no, you have to say square or rectangle. And when she was telling him, he had to say something that was wrong. I had to go down there and talk to the teacher and explain. Tiberius knows a little bit more of geometry than most kids in free school.
Well, that just sounds like a poorly qualified
wrong. She
you
was
guys know
saying that I was also wrong.
Right. But she was punishing you for saying something that was right. And so you're going to have kids that are being punished by being told they have to say something that's actually wrong.
Well, do you guys know?
I'm gonna make a deal right now. Like, I would sign this deal right away. I'm fine with saying whatever an individual wants to say, identify, right? As long as conservative masculine thought is also protected as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
How we know what they are, though? They want to be called a zit today. How do we know? They're going to tattoo it on their forehead so we can make sure we call them zit on purpose, or we call them her or ma'am, and then we're told off for it.
Well, try this on, Bob.
Used to make drama for no reason is the problem.
Yes.
Yeah, try this one on. Try this one on, you guys. With from Riley said about the Jim Crow laws back in the day, that a lot of black people say they were white people because they look white and they identified as white, and you had to identify them as white. So this is not a new thing of identifying people who are not who they say they are or who they are. A lot of black people had to identify as white to get by in the world, and we had to identify. You had to say it, and the families and the people had to identify them as white, even though they knew they were black, but they had to identify so they can get ahead in the world. So they identify as black people, white people, so they can survive and get ahead in the world. So gender and this thing about identifying people who they say they are is not nothing new. So people can get mixed race of people who look a certain way. They can say I'm a Mexican, I'm an Indian. They may look like but they're identified as Indian. So what do you say to that? So this is stuff that's been going on for a long time. So
how about
obviously if you look Indian and you're not actually Indian, that's a weird fault of genetics.
Right. Some people say,
so Don, if I identify as black and I applied for a black scholarship and got it,
would you be? There was a lady in Spokane, Washington, that she was going around NAACP saying that she was a white woman. She got identified.
Right. Would you be okay with that? Are you okay with her doing what she did?
No, I'm not saying, but people have been doing
that
for long. Okay, so
it matters.
It matters, but I'm just saying that people have been identifying who they are to get by in the world for a long time. So not nothing new.
Well, see, then we're getting into that territory of like white college students taking minority scholarships because they do have some ancestry with a person of color. Like,
Right.
I think years ago there was a comedian named Chris Hardwick. He's like 1/8 Cherokee. He's like 1/8 Cherokee Indian. Like he's got a great grandmother on one side who was a Cherokee Indian, and in college was therefore able to qualify for a Native American scholarship when he went to college. Like, there's that moral quandary. It's like, sure, I'm 1/8 I'm 1/8 Native American and I can qualify for the scholarship because the minimum requirement is 1/16. But should I take it, even though because 7/8 of me is not Native American?
If there is a listed stated minimum requirement, then yes.
So the thing is, if a guy has breasts and he wanted to identify as a woman, he grew breasts. Say his hormones are messed up. He had breasts, so I want to be a woman. So even though he's a guy, but what do you do?
Well, I have breasts because I'm fat.
Right.
Hey, Joe Boy, Joe Boy, can I get in here or I can't?
Of course. Tiberius is supposed to be telling y'all what to do, but he's
okay. Well, I was going to say, can you edit that clip of Don Thomas saying he wants to be a woman? You can get that, right? Just that. Okay, I just want to.
No, he put that in there.
Well, the other thing I've come up with is obviously we need to talk about this whole misgendering thing as a topic. So we need to do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
So Cash, did you have any fun with this?
Yeah.
It looked like you did.
He did. He did. He was wonderful. He did very well. Like I said, if Tiberius wouldn't have cut his ass off, he could have talked more.
And I really wasn't trying to attack you. I was actually trying to give you some advice to actually look at what Jordan Peterson has. Of all the people that I've seen, he's the one that's most clean cut and respectful, that actually cares about what he's talking about, where most people are out there just to win. He's not there to win. He's actually there to solve a problem.
Amen. Cash, you provide hope for humanity, my friend.
Yeah. Thumbs up.
I agree. But you know what? Just about 7 o'clock. So that is
just about that time.
End of the after show. And I will say it's been fun. This topic was a great one. I'm sure we're going to have a whole other show about misgendering, which will be a lot of fun. I hope I'm just doing the timers on that one, not hosting it. But please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Like, subscribe, do all of those great and amazing things. And follow us for next week on Third Side Convo with your host, Tips, not me.